Fox News contributor and former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. We played for you some sound of the Republicans and what they said over the weekend. Let's listen to call for number one here, some Democrats with their point of view.
It appears to be willful on the president's part. The keeping of these documents after the government was requesting them back.
He has serious ties with foreign governments. God forbid that any of this information was leveraged for any type of financial gain, not necessarily by President Trump, but even by other members of his administration or his family.
I mean, those are very serious allegations. They don't know that, and none of us really know anything beyond what we've been able to glean from the very sparse documents that we have so far. But we do have a little bit of information about the documents that were there. They seized 11 sets of classified documents, 4 sets of top secret ones. Where do you land on this 8 days since the raid?
So first of all, mishandling classified information is very, very serious, and we need to keep that context. But I want every single person who says things like those congressmen did about how he might have shared it with a foreign government or something like that. Let's go back and roll back the tape what they said about Hillary Clinton, because Jim Comey reported that Hillary Clinton had 110 emails with classified information, including 7 email chains that include top secret special access program intelligence. So she had more special access program intelligence on her private server and in her emails than Donald Trump is alleged to have had in his house in Mar-a-Lago. And we also know from the Justice Department Inspector General that the information, classified information on her private server that was sent back and forth on those emails was compromised by foreign intelligence services. So all these people who back then said, this is no big deal, stop harassing Hillary Clinton, are now running around with their hair on fire saying that Donald Trump endangered national security. If you said that what Hillary Clinton did was no big deal, then you have no standing to complain about what's going on with classified information in Donald Trump's possession.
I read something about someone complaining about Republicans suggesting, but Hillary Clinton and accusing them of whataboutism. But in this case, there is a direct comparison, as you just laid out. The political impact.
Whataboutism?
Yeah.
Whataboutism is translation for whataboutism is please don't call out my hypocrisy.
Exactly.
That's when people cry whataboutism, that's all it is. Exactly.
The political impact for both Republicans and Democrats, your take?
You know, it's interesting because obviously this energizes Trump supporters and it creates a rally effect around him and around the candidates that he's endorsed, which is positive for Republicans. But at the same time, it changes the subject. What people want, what Republicans should want to be talking about 3 months out of the midterms is the disastrous policies of the Biden administration. We should be talking today about the situation, as you have been, about a year after the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. We should be talking about inflation. We should be talking about the disaster on the border, which apparently Elon Musk didn't even know how bad it was because no one is reporting on that. And this allows the Democrats to change the subject, and it makes things about Donald Trump. When what we need the election to, Republicans need the election to be about is Joe Biden. So in that sense, it helps the Democrats as they close the gap going into November.
Mark Thiessen, great to have you today. Thank you so much. Have a good week.
Thanks, Dana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.
I don't think there's a grade low enough to give him. The bottom grade.
B or C. I'd probably say B minus. Considering the circumstances, yeah, probably pretty good. I mean, grade, probably a B.
Horrible. Worst president ever.
My rating may be a C. You know, he's got a lot on his plate, but my opinion, I'm a Democrat, and I think we need a younger person, some new change.
F. I'm a retired teacher. F, F, F.
A B plus.
I do think there's definitely been a few mistakes along the way, on the part of the president, but also he's not in control of the entire legislative system. So I think that it's really difficult to be able to place blame on somebody.
Joe Biden? He's destroying this country. He's just being played by the far left. He's not even in charge. So what difference does it make?
I give him a B.
I think he's doing what could be expected, and I'm hoping that gas prices stay down.
I'll C+.
He's not very low. Like 5.
Not good. Probably a 3 out of 10, more than likely. The economy is not good. Taxes are high. Interest rates is high.
I think his hands are pretty well tied by the split in the House and the Senate.
There's not too much great he's done. Maybe just here with Zawahiri, whatever his name was, taking him out. That was an accomplishment under his watch.
He closed the pipeline, which he should not have done, and he's relying too much on Russian oil, and I don't think this is a good thing. We should be ourselves, and he's not allowing us to be number one in the world.
I have not known any politician to keep any of their so-called things they're going to do. They just run on and they get in office. I'm not saying he's doing a bad job, but you know, through all the presidency that I've known, they run on these platforms, but they never really execute.
Former President Trump is saying on his own social media platform that his passports were among the documents seized by the FBI. Mr. Trump not thrilled about it, as you can see here, but keep in mind that those passports were not on the list on the receipt for property unsealed by that affidavit last week. You can see what was on that affidavit, 11 sets of classified, top secret, or other sensitive materials. NBC News has not been able to obviously confirm the claim that Mr. Trump is making one way or the other. But it comes as members of the House and Senate are hoping to learn more about the whats and the whys of the search at Mar-a-Lago. Members of both parties have their requests out for various documents, but they're not all the same, right? There is a bipartisan push from the Senate Intelligence Committee, both Senator Mark Warner and Senator Marco Rubio, the top two members of that committee, calling to see the classified documents or at least get access to them in a briefing. Democrats want a damage assessment formally. Republicans would like the DOJ, the FBI, and others to basically preserve communications related to the search. I want to bring in NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley, senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor on Capitol Hill, and former FBI general counsel and MSNBC legal analyst Andrew Weissman. So, Ryan, let's bring us up to speed on a couple of things. First, any significance, and Andrew will talk to you about this too, about the idea that passports may have been taken, what that may say to you about where this case goes, and then what is next as it relates to this search at Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, you know, I want to be careful about this one because that's something that we only hear from the president so far, and it could go a couple of different ways. But I think Andrew might be best to weigh in on the potential significance of that there. But it is significant. I mean, just, you know, as a fact that this idea that the president's passports were taken by the FBI. I think there's obviously different interest on Capitol Hill in terms of getting more information about exactly the damage assessment and then the communication side. But I would just point out, you know, that this has been a very by-the-book investigation in terms of the FBI side. Remember that there was that initial meeting with Trump in early June after the subpoena in late May, and all of the while that information held. The fact that the former president of the United States was subpoenaed by a grand jury held for several months. It was not leaked out of DOJ. It was not leaked out of the FBI. Apparently, the White House didn't even know about it. The White House was very taken aback by the developments last week. So there has been a pretty firm firewall, it seems like, thus far, that we've seen in between the Justice Department and the FBI, which is really, the Justice Department and the White House, which is really something that Merrick Garland, when he came in, wanted to reestablish and make sure that things were only going through the official lines of communication between the FBI, DOJ, and the White House, and not some of these sort of side missions that we saw happen during the Trump administration, Haley.
Some news out of Georgia regarding the investigation into interference of the 2020 election. What's the latest there?
Yeah, Jose, a judge in Georgia now saying that Senator Lindsey Graham will have to testify before Fulton County in their investigation of what happened around the 2020 election. Graham now saying that his lawyers are reviewing it and saying over the weekend that he will go as far as he needs to go and do whatever needs to be done to make sure that people like him can do their jobs without fear of some county prosecutor coming after you. Those are Graham's words. But look, at this point, what it looks like is that Graham is going to have to testify in Fulton County, even as his spokesperson tells us that his lawyers are reviewing this and that they will appeal this decision.